All right. Here we go. time. Something has got to happen because we can no longer go down the path that we're going down. This country won't last another 6 months. This country won't last another 12 months if something doesn't happen. So it's time to flip the switch. It's time to get involved. It's time to move the line forward. And if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. So I don't care what flip the switch is. I don't care if that means that all of this nonsense is nonsense, or if some of it's true. All right. Good evening and welcome, Warriors, World Patriots, my fellow Americans. My name is Mike. I'm the host of Liberty Warrior. Give me liberty or give me death. When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty. Welcome to this wonderful, beautiful Tuesday evening, December 21st, 2021. Countdown 4 days, folks. Countdown 4 days until Christmas. So I hope you're all prepped and ready to go. I know I'm not. I'll get there. I just got a couple more things that I need to do. So I'm always a last minute when it comes to Christmas. I keep trying to tell myself every year I'm going to start in August and have everything done by October as far as like buying gifts. Never happens. Never happens. I'm one of those guys that you see Christmas Eve trying to grab the last thing on the shelf that I see. That's me. Not always, but it has been a handful of times in my life where I'm that guy, and you just shake your head and go, "Wow, yep." Not this year, but in years past. So, anyway, hope y'all are having a great evening, a great start to your week. Some of you, it's probably a short week because Christmas is on Saturday. So I'm sure you'll at least get Friday off, maybe even Thursday, maybe Monday. I don't know. Me, I'll be working. I'm taking Christmas Day off and Sunday, but I'll be back to work on Monday with Podbean and the other things that we do here. So I hope you all enjoy the devotional that I do in the morning because I do. I enjoy it a lot. I hope that you guys enjoy the headline hits that I do because I do as well. It's a lot of fun for me. It's something a little different, and I enjoy it. And I really enjoy podcast. I really enjoy Podbean. I've got Scott Snafu in the waiting room. I'm gonna bring him out here in just a few minutes. Man, we're still breaking records over there on Podbean, and I'm gonna try to do maybe tomorrow a video, short little video introduction sometime tomorrow afternoon. I'll get up with Shane. We'll do it. I'll try to find something on YouTube that I can share and show some of you that are having issues figuring out how to get Podbean on your phone. I'll try to find a YouTube video for that, and I'll play it tomorrow for you guys and show you how to do that. You just go to your phone or your device, download Podbean in your store app. Go to store app, type in Podbean, download it. Once it's downloaded to your phone, then go to your search bar and type in LWN podcast. Once that pops up, you can't mistake it. It's our logo. Um, and you'll recognize it and then just follow from there. We had Jeff B on yesterday. We did a podcast with Jeff B. Him and I started a series tomorrow, which is a lot of fun. It's called How Mega Began. We had episode 1 yesterday. So if you guys haven't caught that yet, please do so. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, we're breaking records over there. We've now tapped into the top 100 podcast on Podbean. So that's a great record. We also hit a milestone yesterday where now I believe we can have up to 1,000 live listeners on Podbean. And I know that we had a ceiling there at 500. We broke it yesterday and went up to 502. So they sent me a milestone and said that we can have up to 1,000 listeners on Podbean. So for some of you that couldn't get in the last time Jeff B was on, and some of our other guests, you'll be able to get in now. I think we're good at 1,000. Our next milestone will be 2,000 live listeners. So um, we got green light over there on Podbean, and I love it. I love being able to talk and not have to talk in code. So one last announcement before I bring Scott in is Thursday night, ladies' night, Tammy Nation, Mary Kay. They are going to give the coin giveaway. They're going to do the coin giveaway Thursday night. So there's one of the coins. It's a full 1 ounce silver coin. This is a Buffalo round. Okay. I know Tara will be working tomorrow on putting that list together in our software so that we can draw names. Every person that has a membership on Channel 2 and Channel 3 for December, your name goes into that drawing. For every person that has done a super chat with us on any of the channels this month, your name is going into that drawing. If you guys would like, we'll have 6 coins to give away Thursday night. 6 silver coins that we will give away Thursday night. If you guys want to be part of that drawing, all you got to do is drop a super chat. We'll pick that up tomorrow morning. Or if you guys want to do a membership on channel 2 or 3, we'll pick that up tomorrow. And all those names will go into the drawing for Thursday night. We will try to pull a name out about roughly every 20 minutes throughout the show. So you guys are going to want to be there, pay attention, and send us your address when your name is called. So that is all that I have for updates to share with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and bring Scott out. How's it going, Scott? How are you doing this evening? Welcome back to LWN.
Well, thank you. I am glad to be back, and thanks for inviting me back. Y'all are the only ones with enough cojones to actually bring me on.
Well, every time I can, I try to catch your podcast, your show over there, because between you and Andy with Miles Franklin, I love listening to you guys talk, and you guys bring a lot of really intelligent information, a lot of good stuff that you guys put out, and of course, um, if I can't catch the whole thing, I always fast forward to the very end when you make your closing statement, because that for me is it's like the icing on top of the cake. And we'll save that till the end of this show. If you guys have never heard Scott's closing, please stick around to the end of this show because it's you'll enjoy it.
Well, thanks. A lot of people like that. A lot of people really like the Friday show that I do. It's kind of me just kind of venting and blowing off some steam and just popping off and a lot of people really like it, and this Friday show is should be a really good one. So I'm kind of been saving up a couple of things and kind of getting I'm actually going to have a couple of notes on this one probably, and which I never do. It's all
Yeah.
ad lib. I don't make notes. I don't edit videos. I don't do anything like that. I just say it. Whatever happens, happens. So
Me and you both, brother. Me and you both. I might. I have a bad memory. Thank you, Diana, for the super chat. I have a bad memory. My short term sucks. So if I have like a question I want to ask somebody, I'll jot that down real quick so I don't forget. But as far as making notes and scripting anything, everything here at LWN is definitely ad libbed. It's live. It's raw. It's organic, and that's the only way I want to roll because it makes the show so much fun.
I agree. And I have an excellent memory. And people say I have a spooky memory because my ability to recall stuff, people think that I actually have a photographic memory because the ability to recall stuff and just blurt crap out there and really put a good twist on it and have a good sense of humor, it really helps people to understand some of this stuff because everybody's always listening to a bunch of like dry people or trying to script it and edit it and do all that other stuff. It starts turning a little bit plastic on people. And I know for me, I mean, if I'm sitting there watching some of it, it's like, man, that's just a bunch of horse shit. And so I just put it out there, and people really respond to it very well. And speaking really plain and putting things in word pictures, and that really imprints upon their brain, and it makes it so that they can actually recall things that you said too. So it's like all the information I have doesn't do me a bit of good. I know it all, so y'all need to know it because how else are we going to get stuff out there? I can't keep it all to myself, and if you can't remember it, then what the hell good is that too? So that's just kind of how I look at it.
Amazing. We got Captain Finger in the waiting room. I'm gonna bring him out here in a minute. So I thought tonight. I know that you've been talking a lot about these, and correct me if I'm wrong. They're the JFK papers.
No, it wasn't the JFK papers. I like to kind of go back and listen to old videos. In fact, when Shane called me just a few minutes ago, he's like, "Oh man, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I just got done eating some supper and I'm listening to an old Bill Cooper video." And listening to a lot of some of these old videos like Bill Cooper or oh, I think her name was Mae West or Mae
Yep.
Brussels. That's it, Mae
Mhm.
Brussels. When you hear some of these older videos like that, and then line it up with what's kind of going on today, it's like, holy crap. A lot of this stuff hasn't changed over the past 3 or 4 decades. And when you start hearing some of this stuff, it's like, man, it's for me, it's kind of starting to connect some of the dots on some of this stuff. And I pretty well connected quite a few, several years ago. But now, just kind of listening to some of this old stuff, it really is putting some finer points on the things that you really didn't know or pay attention to. And so that's why, when I listened to that video of Jim Mars, and I've heard of Jim Mars and some of his stuff, but it's kind of like listening to it again. Some of the things that you didn't catch or really didn't know to listen for is where I was able to, like, oh dang man, here's some stuff I really didn't realize. And so when I started talking about it, that video really caught fire. Of course, I've been censored to the Stone Age over the last 4 or 5 months now. And when I went dark for 3 years. I mean, after they deleted the first channel in January of 2018, I just kind of like, okay, I'm pretty well done. I said everything I needed to say and was talking about, law and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And then people were bugging me to make a backup channel. So I made a backup channel about 6 months later, roughly. Then I posted a few videos on there. And, when you have to start all over again, you don't have that many subscribers. Your views aren't really going very well. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm just done. I've said it all. And there's no sense in me just rehashing everything over and over and over again. So I went dark and I didn't post anything till January 10th of this year. And then once I started posting again, it just blew up. I mean, it went nuts. The algorithms or something I called it all the brakes were off because the analytics were off the charts. I mean, off the charts at one point. And I screenshot a lot of this stuff because hell, I wouldn't even believe it if you told me. I mean, I had a 999% increase in views, over 63 million impressions.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you got to be shitting me, man. I had people telling me I was getting more views than Tucker Carlson. I was like, oh, damn, this ain't good. Talk about a spotlight. And so it just kind of went really nuts. And then once, I guess, whoever's in charge of YouTube was like, ooh, man, this guy's really getting a lot of reach out there. And so that's when they started throttling me back quite a bit. But I had some really strange things kind of happen over the past couple of weeks. And before, probably about, I would say a couple of 3 months ago, I noticed that they were really starting to censor the channel again because the views weren't going out there, and a lot of things because, you got the analytics you can see on your backside as well. And what's kind of really taken off and what's not going and all this other good stuff. So it was, I got a couple of channel strikes and I already knew the game. It's like, because this is what happened to me the first time. They would strike the channel, and then before that strike was up, they give you the second strike.
Yep.
And so then okay, you only got one more strike, and then they just delete you altogether. And so it was only after 3 weeks of having me censored off, then when I was able to come back, I think I did like 1 or 2 videos, and boom, they just deleted the whole channel. And the appeal process is just laughable at best. And so when I saw it starting to happen again, I went back and I hid all my videos. I just put them all on private. And so I was like, okay, they were going back probably about 4 or 5 months, all the way to like January and February, and they were striking videos that far back. And I was like, yeah, they're coming, using whatever excuse they can to say, oh, you violated this and violated that.
Yep.
So I outran them. I just hit them all. And so it's like,
That doesn't, Scott. I have to pause you for a second because I'm going to tell you, brother. If you put it in private, it doesn't work. Okay. And the reason why I know this is because they did the exact same horse shit to me. I went in there, especially on my big channel, because I knew they were coming after me, and I put all my videos into private. They went in there and gave me a strike for one of my videos that was in private. And like you, brother, I've had to start all over again, and I had to go into my big channel and wipe every video out of there because I put every video into private, and they went back in and gave me a strike for a private video and said it was against their community guidelines, and I had to wipe everything. I had to start all over. That's why we're having a rough time with live viewers and with our views and all the other stuff. Is I've wiped it. I've wiped it so clean that the algorithm. I destroyed my own algorithm. I had to, or I was going to lose the channel. And it's hard for people to find us. We're not out there like we used to be, and that's okay. Because I'm going to put you on the spot right now, Scott. I'm going to bring Shane in, but I'm going to put you on the spot. We are breaking records over on Podbean, sir, and I would love an opportunity to go one-on-one with you for an hour live on Podbean with no restrictions, no code words. You and I just Liberty Raw, one afternoon at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And if you're cool with that, I'll have Denise reach out to you and schedule you. But I'd like to go one-on-one with you, brother, and unleash the beast and let you just have at it.
be careful what you ask for.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for you before I turn my camera on.
Absolutely.
How do you like all these asses on? How do you like looking at all these asses on the stage here?
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's a
Well,
lot of asses.
go ahead. Sorry.
I'm done.
No, actually, the lady that you're talking about, she brought that up to me and said, you could come on, you could do, be on a show with us on the Podbeam thing, or do whatever you want and all this other stuff. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty interesting, because there's a lot of things I would talk about, but you can't in this forum, because of the way everything is on the censorship and stuff. But yeah, I tell you what, I would probably blow that thing up, man.
Let's do it. I'm not messing around, man. I'd love to have you on Podbean, Scott, and we can talk about any subject you want, and you can have full reins on that thing. That's what I love about Podbean is we can go over there. We can talk about anything we want, and we get live viewers, and then we get a lot of downloads afterward. I'm finding a home over there. I can tell you that. I'm finding a home to where I can be me. And that's the thing is I want to have Snafu and let Scott be Scott and not have to, bridle himself or watch himself for what he says because he's afraid of getting my channel taken down or his channel taken down. So I extend the invitation, man. Anytime you want to go, let's do it.
Well, that sounds like a game plan. So we'll just have to put it together, and trust me, I will come unleashed on it. If I could really talk, holy smoke!
You will get addicted to it. I promise you. You'll get over there and go, "What the hell have I been doing this whole time?" So anyway, there's the invitation. I'll have Denise reach out to you, and we'll try to get you scheduled up. Let's just hit the conversation that we were talking about at the beginning, where you were watching these old videos. I've been watching a lot of old like Reagan speeches and some stuff on the old 45 steps to communism and stuff like that. So, I understand what you're saying. When you watch those, it's almost like some of those people kind of knew that this was going to happen, and they kind of laid the roadmap out for us and was warning us. But unfortunately, over the years and over the decades, people just kind of, I guess, looked the other way and never really paid attention.
It's complacency. And that's the biggest part of it. I mean, when I was coming out in 2015 and talking about the corruption in the courts and all this other stuff, I had neighbors that even thought I was just loony. I was nuttier than a squirrel turd. And, they were like, man, you've lost your mind. Hell, even my own damn mom, she thought I was going crazy. I was like, until I bought the law book and I actually own it. I was like, no, read it. It's right here. I didn't write this damn thing. I just read it, you know? But people weren't ready for it. If you'd have told people 3 years ago that there would be all these mandates and everything that's going on 3 years ago, they'd have laughed you out of the room. But now nobody's laughing. And back in 2015, the internet, especially YouTube, was still the Wild West. And there was a lot of people that could come out and talk about all kinds of things. I mean, holy shit. They were coming out with some of the, I thought it was so damn, I thought it was just crazy. But then I would listen to it and I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. And once I kind of found out how the system was, I was already kind of geared to, the mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open. And so I don't discount anything, and I haven't discounted anything for years. If I hear something really crazy, I'd put it on the back burner and say, okay, if I hear it again, there'd be something to this, especially when you start hearing it from a couple of different sources. And so it's like, there could be something to this. And so, like I said, people weren't ready for the hardcore truth like they are now. And now people are hungry for it because you can't believe anything you see on TV. And you certainly, we all know about fake news and all how that's all worked out. And so now then that people are readily accepting some of this information, it's really starting to gain a lot more traction. And so that's kind of one of the things now compared to even 3 years ago that people will say, there might be something to this. Whereas before they would just laugh you off and say, yeah, you're just a conspiracy theorist and all this other stuff. And, people used to say that to me all the time. And the first thing I would do is like, look, conspiracy is not a theory. It's a crime. It's Article 13.13 in the Texas state statute. And as soon as you start saying stuff like that, they got nothing to say. There's nothing to come back with. And so then since they can't say nothing, they just turn around and walk off. And that's when you got them. It's like, yeah, shut up. That just ends their whole conspiracy theory little diatribe. So that's just kind of one of the ways to kind of combat stuff like that. Another good one that I heard that people can use was, it actually came from that Dr. Zelenka, where he said conspiracy minded people are free thinking people. Are you telling me you're not a free thinker? Well, I thought that was pretty catchy too. I was like, yeah, so what you're doing is flipping the script on them. And I've been saying that for a long time. Flip the script on it. Just take the opposite, flip it right back on them, and see how they respond. Or more importantly, how they don't respond.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly what you're saying. When we turn the tables on these folks, they definitely do not like it, and we're turning it every chance that we get, and it's amazing the response that you get because they don't like it, man, and they come after you.
Well, it's not what they say, it's what they don't say. And that's the really hard thing. Because I always tell people, are you hearing what I say or are you listening? And there's a big difference between listening and hearing. When you listen to something, you can retain it. If you hear something, it's like music. You hear, it just kind of glances off your ear and you kind of just kind of go on down the road. But when you're really listening, you can start catching things. But then it starts to get even finer when you're listening for what they're not saying. And that's where the key is to a lot of this stuff. So it's kind of like an old maxim, when you watch, public officials, you don't watch their action. Don't listen to their words, watch their actions. And that will tell you more about what they're really doing or not doing.
Yeah. Just to address the chat real quick, Scott's link has been dropped in chat several times. Tracy Q just dropped it again. So for those of you who are looking for it, it's Snafu. That's the link that you're looking for. It's not under Scott. It's under Snafu. She's dropped it. I've seen it go through chat at least 2 or 3 times now, so it's in there. Shane, your thoughts?
They're kind of nil right now. I'm just kind of sitting back listening, gathering my thoughts, putting a thought together for you.
Yeah, and for anybody out there, the YouTube channel is Snafu Radio on YouTube. So
Yeah.
if you see a big red D, that's me. And if you want to subscribe, that's great. I don't tell anybody to subscribe to my channel. I don't tell them to give me a thumbs up. You do what you want to do. I just drop the information out there, and you can do with it what you will. I don't care if you go watch a cat video, turn me off, go outside, stomp around mad. I don't give a damn.
To answer the chat, yes, Jeff B was just on Saturday night. You can check that out. It's back on Saturday night. Jeff B was on Saturday night with me, and I also had him on Podbean just yesterday. So if you haven't seen Pod or listened to Podbean, Jeff is unfiltered over there on Podbean. So I think you'll really enjoy that episode over there. We just started a new series over there. So that's about all the questions that I'll grab out of chat right now. But Scott, it's amazing when you start saying that you're trying to connect dots for people. And, we try really hard to use intelligent information. We try really hard to do the best we can to put out the most truthful information that we possibly can. And yet, it's hard because some people, they want to know it, but they won't do some of the work themselves. And I try to encourage people constantly. I can give you the roadmap and I can help you along, but some of that stuff you're going to have to, pitch in, roll up your sleeves, and help us with it because we can't do it. We can't do it all, right?
Well, the thing is, here's the problem. Once you know what the truth is, then you're obligated to do something with it. And that's where the rubber meets the road because, people don't want to that they'll shun themselves to keep from knowing the truth because once they know it, then you have a duty to do something with that information. And that's where people kind of get hung up. It's kind of like asking people to file a criminal complaint against a public official. They'll jump up and down, rail in indignation, their hair on fire, all that stuff. It's like, okay, we'll put your name on a criminal complaint and send it in. And that's where they just roll up in the fetal position and say, I'm not going to do that. And it's like, well, how are you going to hold these people accountable if you're not willing to do something? And that's where the biggest problem that's what's been going on and happening for a long time is the apathy in people. And look where it's gotten, because of allowing it to happen. Basically, if you allow it to happen, then that makes you complicit. So that's another reason people don't want to do anything. They're like, oh man, I don't want to do that. I got this, I got a great job and all this other stuff. Is like, well, how's that working out for you now? What are you having to do to keep that? Are you having to sell yourself out to keep that job? And you'll find that's the reason why unemployment has reached all-time highs now, because now they're having to start to realize, they got to make the hard decisions. And if people would have done this years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. But we are where we are. But now people are starting to get super pissed off. And I find that's the one thing that motivates people. It's not fear, it's anger. And once you get mad, then you are really adamant about doing something about it. So that's kind of what I used to do, is I just used to make people mad as hell. I even had a lady just probably a couple months ago. She called me up. She wanted me to help her with, some getting some silver and stuff. And I was like, I answered the phone and we started talking. The first thing she says, I got to apologize to you. I said, what? She goes, oh, I need to apologize to you. And I said, what for? You don't know me. I never even met you. You hadn't, you never lied to me yet because I never spoke to you. And she said, when I first was listening to some of your videos a few months ago, you made me so mad that I couldn't take it no more. I turned it off and I unsubscribed. I said, really? She said, yeah. And she goes, and then I got mad enough, I was going to prove you wrong on some of the things that you were saying. And I always tell people, don't believe anything that I say. Go do your own research. Prove me wrong. Well,
Correct.
she went out to go prove me wrong. Guess what? It didn't happen. She found out I was telling the truth. And then
Yeah.
once she did, she was mad at herself. And I kind of had to break it down for her. I said, look, what it was you got mad at yourself because you got suckered and thinking that what these people were telling you were true. I said, but what you're really mad at is you're mad at those people for stealing your trust. And now that you know that, now you came back and you started listening to some of my shows again, and you found out I've never been lying or misleading you. I'll never lie or mislead anybody. I may make mistakes. Hell, I'm human. I'll tell you I'll be the first to say, man, I make mistakes all the damn time. But it's not intentional. And so when I broke it down like that, she goes, you're right. I said, well, hell, I know I'm right because I was lied to too. You know, I thought they were all telling me the damn truth too. Hell, I grew up thinking that. And now when I found out they're all lying to me, I got mad as hell. And holy shit, they pissed me off so bad. They picked the wrong person to piss off because I'd actually do something about it. And I did. And oh man, I just got on fire with some of that shit and
Yep.
lit some people up. And I would even get on the damn shows and I would purposely piss them off. And I would say, yeah, I'm going to hit you upside the head with a 2 before truth. And I'm going to beat it into you. And sure enough, a lot of people really started to respect that because that's what it took to wake them up to some of this stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
All right. Well, I got a question for you. And there you go, Joe Biden. There's your credit. If that was your joke, that was your joke. Um, why we're talking about it, I don't know, but there's your credit. So Scott, we try really hard to encourage people to get involved at their local level here. When you say that's where the rubber meets the road and get off your rear end and do something, we try really hard to encourage people to do that here. We've had Alpha David Mamas on here. We've had Daniel Richard on here. We've had a lot of really, really good guests come on here. D Dog hops on here and tries to encourage people to get involved. So, what's your recipe for trying to get your viewers, your listeners, to get involved? Besides hitting them upside the head with the truth 2x4, is there anything that you do different than maybe I do to try to encourage people to get out there and make a difference?
Well, like I say, holding public officials accountable is is a pretty tough thing to do, especially when you start diving off into it. And it can start out with something really simple as doing information request. And I did information request. And then once you see how they will purposefully not answer the information request or do all kinds of contortious things just to keep you from knowing what the truth is on several things, then you can start doing things like bar grieving the attorneys. And, if you have to go into a court for a traffic ticket or anything and the judge just goes ballistic, you start filing judicial conducts on them. And it's all once you kind of start knowing what the laws are in your state. And the thing is, all the laws are similar. They just change the numbers in each state. Colorado be different from California, be different from Texas, be different from New York or Florida or wherever you're at. But they're all basically the same. So once you kind of find that out, then it kind of makes you mad that they're keeping that information from you. And so then you start. One of my mentors is Randy Kelton, and he runs Rule of Law Radio. And he's been a friend of mine. He's ex military. And once I started kind of learning stuff and then learning how to write legal briefs and all these documents and things, it was a huge eye opener on some of this stuff. Another guy was Jay. I'll just call him Jay. He was a really good mentor to me as well because Randy knew all the state stuff, Jay knew all the federal stuff, and I was able to combine all this stuff together. And and then I started doing my own research and finding out a lot of things that they don't follow their laws as written. And this has been going on for a very, very long time. And so that's why we say, oh, we got a deep state. Well, yeah, we do. It's a rogue government. Parts of it are rogue. They are definitely operating out of their own scope of office. And then once you kind of know these things, it's basically our fault for allowing a lot of these things to happen because we never held these people accountable. And so it's kind of hard to blame them. They're like the schoolyard bully. And if you don't stand up and punch them in the nose, they're just going to keep bullying you until they back you into a corner. Well, then it gets to the old thing where, you back a dog into a corner, that some bitch is going to bite you. And that's what's they're getting to the point. And then once you kind of really dive off into it, well, that's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting people to get pushed into that corner so that they react to things, and not in control of their faculties. And so that's, kind of like they talk about population reduction. They would love to see everybody go out there and just, start going nuts and doing all this and going crazy and shootings and all this other stuff, because then they get to scapegoat you and say, oh, look at these crazy people over here. They're all this and all that. Oh, so, it's a cascading effect at that point. And so you gotta be really smart about it. And you really have to kind of be methodical. And it's real hard to do because your emotions always want to kick in, and we're all emotional type people anyway. And I know I am. Hell, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And so I don't mind telling somebody quick, where to jump off. And but you kind of got to keep yourself in a little bit of check and figure out how you want the outcome to be. And you're laying together a roadmap on where you want to go and how you want the outcome to turn out as. And it's pretty tough, I ain't gonna lie. But the thing about it is, if more people could move in a unit, you know I was in the military, everybody moves in a unit. The reason they do that is because the force and effect is way stronger than just one person. If I'm out there screaming and hollering at a building, and saying, "Oh, you violating my rights" and all this other stuff, people are just going to stand around and look at you like you're nuts. But if there's 1,000 people or more and they're all saying the same thing, now they're going to pay attention because it's like, oh, we got a problem here. But as long as you're not, being stupid radical type stuff and you're doing it in a legally methodical way, they can't dismiss that and they can't label you as a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. Now you're using their own laws and beating them over the head with their own damn book.
Yes, and I want to back up for just a second. Um, when you talked about holding these politicians and stuff accountable, you can't even make this up. You cannot make this up. I just reported today that there is a government agency that supposedly keeps politicians accountable. So, what kind of an oxymoron is that, Scott?
Well, it's the same thing as the police policing the police. You know, they're not going to do it. It's our job. Just like you can file what they call T-close complaints here in Texas, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement of Officers. You file 3 or 4 of those against a cop and they lose their bonding, they can't be a cop no more. And the first time I did that to several of them, oh man, that got their attention really quick. And they actually started changing a little bit of some of their policies and stuff around, and started really paying attention because you're doing it in a legal type manner instead of just standing out there jumping up and down, and acting a fool. You're going in there and you're actually putting stuff down on paper and showing them this is what I am complaining about, and I got a legitimate gripe, and I want to make it known. And so things like that are how you're able to get their attention. And I tell you what, the first time I called the cops on the cops, that was a whole different feeling right there. When you dial 911 and call the cops on the cops, whoo wee, man, now you just become a protected class of a person because you're filing complaints on a public official. And so you turn into a protected class of a person at that point. Same thing as a judge. So it's knowing some of these things and studying it for quite some time. And unfortunately, a lot of the stuff is trial by fire and you have to go through some of this stuff. But you certainly start getting a lot of respect from these people that you would normally never get. And the last time I went for a traffic case here, because I'm in Dallas, born and raised here in Dallas, and when the whole thing was over, I knew that they were going to find me guilty. They had to, because if they didn't, I was going to set precedent. And if that would have happened, it would have wiped out all kinds of traffic tickets around here. And I told the judge, I said, I know y'all are going to find me guilty. You have to. I said, I could appeal this up to a higher court, to the appeals court. I said, that don't do nothing. And I know how the system is. I said, I could take this before the legislatures and, gripe and complain to them. I said, but why? It's already wrote down here in this book. Y'all are just not following your own laws as written. And I told him, I said, I'm coming in here and I have all my facts and everything documented. I made a cop read an information request on his authority to enforce the transportation code per chapter 4 of the Texas Administrative Code, specifically 644.101 and 701.001. I got that straight from the Texas Department of Transportation, asking for all officers authorized to enforce the transportation code. And this guy up here testifying, he's not on that list. And I'm bringing you my paperwork asking you, where did I go wrong? I said, because there's no way I can come in here and get any remedy in this courtroom, no matter how much empirical evidence I lay down here before you. And that judge, he kind of sat back in his chair, and now this is after everything's over, and everybody cleared out of the courtroom. I mean, hey, even he's not a prosecutor, he's just a city attorney. He's like, Judge, I'm out of here. If you need me, I'll be in the back. He wanted to get out of there as quick as he could too, because they don't want to hear this stuff.
Yeah.
Because if they know it, then they have a duty to do something too. They have a duty
Correct.
to act.
Scott,
go ahead.
Do you believe that? And I believe this wholeheartedly. But do you believe that there are two sets of rules? There's a set of rules for the elites and the politicians, and then there's a set of rules for us peasants that we have to follow the rules that they create and enforce, but yet they're above that law?
There's not two sets of rules. It's just that we're not holding them accountable to those rules.
And how do we do that, Scott?
Well, that's where it gets back into filing information requests, filing criminal complaints on public officials and then working it up. We call it the tar baby. You take a criminal complaint to a judge and they do nothing with that, then you file criminally against that judge with another judge, and it creates the tar baby effect. And like I say, Randy goes through this all the time, and it helps people. It's kind of his analogy, which is quite fitting, is, if you have a child and it runs out in the road, you're going to snatch that little child up and just tan its hide. All right. You're not going to run out there in that road. Well, the same thing for these public officials. They start acting beyond their scope. They effectively need to get their hide tanned. And how are we going to, we are the masters of the courtroom, but everybody's been brainwashed to thinking that's their courtroom. Well, it's not. It's a public building. Your tax dollars paid for that stuff. So you have to hold them accountable because they're not going to do it. But like I say, one person like me, yes, you can make a little bit of a difference. But just imagine if there was 100 me out there, or 1,000 me's out there.
10,000.
Exactly. Now you're starting to catch the drift that when people start moving in a uniform fashion, then they're able to make the change. So all politics is local. That's another maxim that is spoken of all the time. And a lot of people, Louisiana Deplorable says common law. No, this is not common law. This is actually their law, that you've taken their statutes and making them have to live up to their statutes, holding their feet accountable to their statutes. And it's real. Once you kind of read them, I mean, just take for an example, speed signs. How many people ever read the law on speed signs? You know, and I've got it memorized. It's 201.904. The Texas Department of Transportation shall erect and maintain signs on the side of the road for the sole purpose of regulating commercial motor vehicles, truck tractors, truck semi tractors, truck tractor trailers for hauling goods or services or people, aka buses. Now, Mr. Officer, can you please describe the year, make, and model of the color of the bus or semi I was driving to violate that stick on the side of the road with them numbers on it? You know, and that's just that. You know, I didn't write that damn law. I just read it. But imagine if a lot of people were, you know, kind of motivating to do that same thing to hold public officials accountable. And if you did, there would be a lot more people saying, well, all right, now this gets back to having the information. Once you have the correct information, now you got to do something with it. Sitting around listening to me, you know, as entertainment, hey, that's great, but it ain't solving no damn problems.
Yeah. So Scott, let me ask you a couple more questions. D Dog, I don't know if you're still in the chat or not, but when we open the lines up to live questions and stuff, I'm going to invite D Dog and Johnny to come up to and join the conversation. Have you ever heard of D Dog on the internet, or has he been in your chats? Have you heard of the Affidavit Mamas? Have you heard of Daniel Richard, or any of those people in that circle, Scott?
No, because I keep kind of a really close circle on a lot of stuff that I get. Plus, you know, like I'm pretty busy anyway. And so, and a lot of stuff, you know, especially like affidavits, you know, that's all good stuff. So, but you're getting educated. And that's the thing, you know, take all this information and start molding it into something that you can use. I mean, having it all and not doing anything with it will just, it's not really going nowhere. So, anybody that's doing anything kind of like that, you know, hey, I applaud them, you know, keep doing those type things to let people know that there are ways to do something. You just have to know what it is. And yeah, you know, like old Dr. Robo Blaine there, knowledge is power. That's true. If you don't, you know, my people perish for a lack of wisdom. And
Yes.
so that's
The,
where it's at.
and the reason why I asked you, maybe you know of them, but we've had them here on the show a few times. They're great patriots, and they're getting involved. They're moving the line forward, and we've had a lot of listeners that have reached out to them and used their affidavits and done exactly what you're talking about there, Scott. They're getting involved. They're putting their politicians, they're putting their school board members and stuff like that on notice, and serving them with these papers and documents. Johnny is another one. Johnny is from Louisiana. He's put people on notice there. He served them with paperwork. He's doing exactly what you're talking about as far as holding these people accountable and working together. Like you said, you can make a difference, but imagine if there was 10 of you, 100 of you, 1,000, 10,000. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make, is there are a lot of us out there that have joined forces, and we are collectively doing exactly that.
Well, that's the reason why they had to do all this censorship, is because channels like this are getting people together and sharing information. And that's the last thing they want, is for an educated population. You know, you got to remember before, you know, the Revolutionary War, there were more law books sold than there were Bibles. Why do you think those people knew that they were getting screwed on their rights and had a Revolutionary War? Because they read those books. They read the law books. They're like, man, we're getting screwed here like 6 ways from Sunday. And they just didn't lay down and let it happen. But the apathy with the population today is, oh, well, I got my smartphone. I always say the smarter the phones get, the dumber the people get. But, you know, there's just this whole apathy of everything. And, oh, I want to go get my Big Mac and Biggie fries and supersize it and all this other horse shit. And I'm like, you're just pumping all this garbage down your throat. And, look at how, America's the fattest country on the planet. It's kind of like they used to have a sign out there that said, don't feed the bears. And the reason is because the bears wouldn't go out and forage for themselves. So that's the way we've become. And so nobody wants to take the accountability to do that. I know y'all wanted to kind of talk about the JFK stuff, which is I'm fine with. I didn't mean to go off down this rabbit trail. So
hey, it's organic. It's okay with me. I think Shane had something he wanted to say.
I need to interject here for a minute. I need to address the chat. Yes, people, I can wave at you. I can smile. It's very hard for me to pay attention to chat to make sure everybody's okay and pay attention to Scott. So, Mike, would you quit posting that crap so I can pay attention?
I know you could do both, Shane. They just want to see you smile, brother. So give them what they want. Give them what they want. That's all I'm gonna say. Give them what they want. Oh, that's great. I tell you, this is what I appreciate is I appreciate the uncanned or the unfiltered version of Scott. He just, like he says, man, this isn't scripted. He doesn't have notes on this stuff. It just comes out and you get what you get. And I appreciate that greatly, Scott. That's how I like to roll. I don't want somebody programming me of what to say. I just say whatever is on my mind in the moment. And sometimes it's really good, and sometimes people look at me and shake their heads, and that's okay. I'm cool with that.
Well, like I say, I didn't mean to go off on this tangent here. It just once I kind of get rolling on it, I want everybody to know that stop blaming and waiting on other people to do something that you can do yourself. And if you start getting in that mindset, you'll start changing things around you. And the most that I find is people have a lack of confidence, self-confidence. And that is a big problem because you're not going to want to do anything if you're second guessing yourself all the time. And the only reason that you're second guessing yourself is because you don't have the knowledge to operate from. Because if you know what you're talking about, they can't shake you off that. And that's been a big problem with a lot of people. They'll listen to how the winds blow and it's like, oh, well, I don't want to piss off this person and I don't want to piss off that. Well, screw that. Yeah, I'm ready to piss people off. I don't care if it hurts their feelings. It's probably for a reason, because they're lying to themselves, and then they want to force that down your throat and make you think that you're wrong when you know damn good and well you're right. And so, like I say, once you have that kind of mindset, and once you stop giving a crap what everybody thinks, because everybody wants to please everybody, it's like, well, number one, that ain't gonna happen. You are never gonna please everybody. I don't care who you are. That's just throw that out the window. And so that's the way I operate. I mean, I got people that'll come into my chat room and say stupid crap. I'll just ban them. And I'll tell them quick, I got an itchy trigger finger. I'll boot your ass out of here quicker than you can blink. And I don't give a second guess about it. I don't care.
Yep.
I would rather them be gone because I don't want to sit there and have to listen to that. And then, other people are going to start kind of, going, oh, well, this guy said, that guy said, well, that guy's gone. You don't have to worry about that. So,
yeah, the problem is over the last few decades, people have gotten real soft, man.
Mhm.
Real soft, thin-skinned. Everything offends them.
Right.
Everything hurts them. It's time to toughen up. some of the stuff, and I tell my viewers, my listeners, some of the stuff that I'm going to tell you, you ain't going to like. Um, and it's not all about being a nice squeezy teddy bear. Sometimes you need your toes stepped on so that you'll wake the hell up.
Well, I don't I don't want I don't agree with no man 100%, and I don't expect nobody to agree with me 100%. I say that all the time. You know, it's okay if we disagree, and if you lay out an argument that counters mine and it's based in some facts and some logic. But if you're just going to sit there and just start throwing out ad hominem attacks and just sounding like a total goofy reject, then I don't need that, because you're not adding anything to the conversation. And it's turned into everybody gets a trophy. And yeah, no more trophy participations. That's exactly right,
Yep.
CH. We're done
Yep.
with that. I mean, I grew up, I graduated high school in 85. And, there was no trophy participation and all that stuff. You just had to toughen up and deal with it. If you sucked at playing baseball, well, guess what? Go find something else to play. You know, do whatever. If you're not a good at football, go find something else to do.
Yep.
So, there's plenty of things, and now seeing how sports is, there's no way I'd want to be affiliated with sports. Ever since they took a knee, I won't even watch it.
I don't
So
watch it.
yeah, they ruined it, but they did it on purpose. And then for all these people that are coming back to it, it's like, man, you're just, all they want is to sit around on the couch on Sunday, stuff their face with pizza and beer and watch a game. And they know more stats about these players than they do what's going on down the street in the real world.
Yeah.
So I don't have any respect for that either. I'm done with a lot of that stuff. So it's just it's it's frustrating to a certain extent, because once you know it all, and then you're seeing everybody how they're still just going along to get along, that just pisses me off, because you're just complying with all this. And if you keep complying, it ain't going to change. So you got to make it change. And it starts with each person. And I know I had to go through it. So I did. And it just made me a better person. And it made me a hell of a lot smarter on a lot of things. And like I say, nobody can buffalo me on some of this shit no more. And when I tell them and I have a good comeback for them, they have no response and they can't say nothing. So what do? They just turn around and walk off. But another thing you did is plant a seed, and you start planting seeds. You're like little Johnny Appleseed. You just plug that little old brain with a little old seed. They may get mad enough to where they want to go try to prove you wrong, and they find out you weren't lying. You were telling them the truth. And then be just like that lady before. All of a sudden, she had to come to grips with it and actually apologize. And I even never even met this person before in my life. So that was pretty cool.
Um, I agree with you, Scott. And the one thing I'm trying really hard, and as a human, it's our nature, but I'm restraining. I don't want to be that person that has to jump in there and tell you I told you so. I don't think being that person when they find out that you were telling the truth, I don't think it's necessary for you to be that person that goes back and says I told you so. That's not winning the war. That's not winning the battle. That's not spreading the truth that we want to put out there. So, your thoughts on that?
Well, you you kind of want to always say, and I even was joking around, I'm going to make up some shirts that say, I told you so. And, and just rub it in there. It's like a dog peeing on the carpet. It's like, you want some more of that? You keep peeing on that carpet, I'll kick you from the unit. So, and you kind of want to, and there's times when you probably should, to be honest with it. And it's just being brutally honest with them. It's like, look, I told you, and you didn't want to listen. Now, how's that working out for you? All right. And so, and then there's other times when you don't have to because they'll come to it and admit to it their own damn selves. And so at that point, at least they're honest and say, well, you don't have to rub their little nose in the carpet because they figured it out. It's just those stubborn son of bitches that you should rub their nose in. It's like, I told you, damn it. What does it take to get through to your thick ass head? Boy, I tell you, if your head was any harder, I don't know what I'd do with you. But
Oh.
yeah, I mean, you kind of have to take it in stride on certain things and just be yourself. I mean, you'll know when to push their buttons and you'll kind of know when to kind of back off on them a little bit. But it also depends on them on how readily acceptable they are to the facts. There's going to be, and I talk to a lot of people from Maine to Hawaii, and a lot of people are in the same boat. They can't even talk to their own members of their family, their friends, and all this other stuff. And it's alienated a lot of people, and a lot of people had to walk away from even their own family. And you should, because people are a herd mentality. People like to be together. And when they're kind of outcast because, they're just acting like a total dumbass, well, then they're going to have to sit there and think about it. And then they'll start thinking about it and come to their own conclusions. Now, there's going to be a certain amount of the population that you just can't help. And you have to come to grips with that too. And that's a tough one. I know because, I know people that there's no way I'm going to get through to them. No matter, the cognitive dissonance is so deep and the brainwashing works. There's no doubt about it. Brainwashing works. And you're not going to get through to some of these people no matter what. And in fact, I've been meaning, I did a show about this a long time ago, but I probably should do it again only because you've got to come to realize that you're not going to get through to these people. Some of them are lost, and some of them, you got to remember, some of them are complicit with it, and some of them like the system. And they want to stay in the matrix, just like that one dude that wanted to go back into the matrix. He wanted his steak dinners. He wanted his wine. He wanted the hot girls. Hey, I'm down with all that too, but I ain't willing to sell out to get it, and that's a problem. So you'll get your reward in the end, and everybody has to meet their maker. What are you going to tell them when you get up there? Are you going to say, I was complicit with this and allowed it all to happen? Or are you going to say, I did my best to help my fellow man so that we could all be better people? And these
absolutely. Hold on a second. I got to check out real quick. I got a 9-year-old boy in this house, and I smell something like it's burning. I got to go check. I got to go check real quick. I'll be right back.
No worries. Go ahead, Shane.
Oh, it's always something around here. It's a lot of fun. So no, it's been a pleasure just listening to you. I'm enjoying it, and I really think the chat is too. A lot of good information.
I don't mean to just kind of keep, taking off and just running off with everything. And I know y'all were wanting to kind of talk about the JFK kind of stuff. And, like I said, it kind of boiled down to listening to some of that old Jim Marrs stuff and some of the things that, he had said, growing up here, the whole, JFK shooting left a real stain on this town. This is my hometown. And that's what everybody knows Dallas for, is the JFK assassination. And so it really kind of pisses me off. It's like, I wasn't even alive when that happened. And so having to grow up and listen to it and hear about it every year. I mean, whenever the anniversary comes around, you have to hear it all over again. And once you start hearing the counter story to the official narrative, and how there is such a huge discrepancy of facts. You know, trust your government. I mean, look at what's going on right now, and people want to say, "Oh, I trust the science," and it's like, well, it's always changing, And
Well,
so, how are you going to trust these people when they used to say smoking was good for you?
well, and
I mean, I got nothing against smoking, but I'm just saying they used to say DDT's not going to hurt you while they're spraying them in Nam, and look what happened to all them guys.
here's the beauty about not getting able to talk about our subject tonight. Uh, this has been going on since 1963. I'm sure it can wait another week or two, and that gives us something to talk about next time. So,
Well,
no, you're doing great, Scott. We love it.
that's fine. I can rattle trap on like you would not believe. I didn't even think. I mean, shoot, we've been going at it for a good clip already, and so I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of get wound up on some things, and it's only because I want people to know. Like I say, me having all this information does me no good. Getting it out there, and that was kind of like when I was just listening to that old 1992 interview with Bill Cooper on CNN, back when they used to actually report some stuff, and his whole thing was he was approached when he first started coming out, and they beat him up, and they beat him up good and shut him up for like 19 years.
Wow.
And so then when he finally came out, he said he mailed out huge stacks of documents to hundreds of people, and he got himself out in the public exposure just almost overnight. So it made it hard for them to really come at him. But eventually they did. Murdered him on his own front porch. He was the most hated man, by the Clintons. And because he was just coming out and exposing some stuff. And he talked about Alex Jones and, how he was controlled op, even Rush Limbaugh, and he was coming out a long time ago, and I've listened to both of them, and but what was the most telling thing is how close either one of them, Jones or Limbaugh, they would get right to the edge, but they wouldn't go a little bit further, where it would really, but the dam would bust wide open. And so, and there's a lot of people out here. I'm telling everybody all the time, be careful who you follow. And like I say, I'm going to do a show Friday, and I have some people that I talk to that, have to remain anonymous for reasons. And the information that they share, these people are under NDAs for life. They can't tell you. There's certain things that they just will never say, and they can't say. And I don't want them to say, because I guarantee you they're listening, watching every keystroke and all that. And if you don't think they can monitor every keystroke on your computer, then slap yourself upside the head, because they can. So, these people are real careful about what they say, because they know that their ass can get thrown under the jail for the rest of their lives, and they'll never see daylight. But
70
is there
years.
yeah?
70-year NBA.
Yeah. Well, actually, it could go a lot further than that.
Can it?
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of the military, when they come out, it's 70 years, I believe.
Well, most of them ain't looking at that; they're looking at death. So,
Mike,
that kind of pretty much outweighs it all right there.
so
And
was the boy burning down the house?
they'll be the
What's
first.
that?
Was the boy burning down the house?
No, I smelled some plastic burning, and I was worried about it. And he wasn't doing anything. My house is okay. It wasn't anything in my room. It might have been this little heater behind me kicking on, but nothing outside. It was just really weird. that I smelled burning plastic all of a sudden. So I wanted to make sure the house wasn't going to burn down around me, because you know me, Shane, I wouldn't stop this YouTube even if the house is burning down around me. I just keep it going.
That's probably
I just grab the laptop and step outside in the snow for a minute, and we
well,
finish it.
yeah, maybe all that information Scott's putting out is just burning them little wheels up.
Maybe, yeah. I thought maybe it was my computer. I don't know what Alan did to it earlier today. I thought maybe it was something to do with that.
Well, I don't have nothing, no access to grind with Jones or any Alex Jones. I know I used to listen to him, and you know, people will come out and readily defend him on cue. Hey, that's great. He's put out a lot of good information. There's certain things that he could go a lot further on. He used to have Eddie Craig on. Well, he only had Eddie Craig on that I know of once, and Randy, he had him on once. And these Eddie Craig he's ex-military and an ex-sheriff's deputy, and he was telling everybody about the law. This was years ago, but he doesn't have them back on anymore. Why is that? Why is he not having like Randy on that teaches, about the laws and holding these public officials accountable and filing criminal complaints against these people? He has a huge platform. He could mobilize a lot of people quickly. Why is he not doing that? These are just questions, I mean, it goes back to, watch what they do and not what they say. I'm not saying Jones hasn't put out good stuff. Of course he has. And like I say, when I got my window smashed out by that cop, and then they had 3 news stations come to my house to interview me because that video went viral, I was wearing one of his shirts. 9/11 was an inside job. That was me on the news wearing one of them shirts. Oh, people must have thought I was kookier than hell, having one of them shirts on. So do I know of him? Yeah. Has he? In my opinion, he's used some of my material before. Can I prove it now? No, all them videos are gone. But, why is he not having some of these people on that could really empower people? And that's what it's all about. I've been telling people, empowering them on doing these type of things. And it's not just me. I'm just like, look, go to these other channels. Go listen to this channel. This guy's been talking this stuff for years and years now, decades. Just like another guy that's supposed to come on that's going to tell people how to, not pay income tax, or let's see, what is the name of that thing again? How to pay no taxes legally. In every case that he's brought in to the IRS, he's won. Now, this brought up another question to me, and I was saying, well, you got to pay 40 quarters if you want to collect Social Security. He goes, oh, yeah, you need to do that. There's certain things that you can do to get yourself out of a bind with these people. And I heard a real good story. This was funny. That there was some old boy, he was down in Austin, he was getting audited. All right. So he walks into the IRS and he says, look, is this something that could potentially be a criminal offense? And, naturally this IRS dude, oh yeah, if you do this could be a criminal offense. You could go to jail. He goes, okay, read me my rights. Well, the guy stood back for a second, goes, huh? He said, read me my rights. He said, well, hold on. So he walks in the back and comes out with another fella, and he asked him the same question. He said, look, is this something that could be a criminal offense? And the guy says, oh, yeah. He goes, good. Read me my rights. The guy goes, well, you have the right to remain silent. And he goes, that's it. That's the one I want right there. And as soon as he said that, the guy turned around, walked off, and he's never heard another thing out of him. And so to me, that was the funniest thing I ever heard. I was like, holy crap, he just invoked his rights, his right to remain silent, to keep from self-incrimination.
Are you talking about Dave Chapman?
This guy is David.
Lives out in
David.
Arizona.
No. This guy's down in Austin.
Okay.
Uh, I don't
Dave
think I
Chapman
have.
wrote a book too. Uh,
Uh,
it's
well,
called
hell,
The Sound Myth.
everybody's heard of. What's his name? Shift. Not Peter Shift, his dad. And his dad was the one that was teaching everybody about the IRS. Okay. And so he wrote a book. Well, they basically they put him in jail because they told him to quit teaching people about this book and quit printing this book. Well, he wouldn't quit printing. He said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to teach people to, how they can do this and the reasons why and all this other stuff." And come to find out, they just kept him in jail until he died handcuffed to a hospital bed. You know, effectively like a political prisoner, and all for
Wow.
teaching people their rights and stuff. And this is like, where was the public outcry? Where was the news? Well, everybody's heard of, Operation Mockingbird. And if you
Mhm.
hadn't, go look it up. It's just like Operation Paperclip.
Yep.
You know, how do you think NASA, and half of them went to NASA, the other half of the German scientists went to the CIA? What did they do? They were still doing MK Ultra stuff. They were doing it over there in Germany. They were just going full bore over it. But you got to remember, in America, they used to use basically euthanized top methods here in America, and Germany actually learned from America. How do you think Planned Parenthood got started? You know, look at Bill Gates' dad. Look at Hillary Clinton. How she held Margaret Sanger in the highest of, you know, uh, credentials. And they were all behind Planned Parenthood. And look at what that's done, you know? So these are just knowing the history on some of this stuff, because history's been rewritten. History's rewritten by the winners. That's why it's his story. It's not my story. That's his story. And so that's what we're taught. And they just throw it down your throats every day. And they keep saying it over and over, repetition. And they keep beating you down and beating you down. Then you start questioning yourself. And, oh, yeah, I need to do this because I saw it on TV. So there's a lot of things, that are out there. And do your own research on a lot of this stuff. The rabbit hole is deep, and it gets deeper. The more you start going down it, the deeper it gets. You know, one of my mentors, Jay, he told me when I first started, he goes, "You just don't know how deep it is." I thought, oh, yeah, there's some corrupt judges, there's some corrupt cops. Yeah. And then once I started going down that rabbit hole, I was like, holy shit, it's way worse than I thought. I mean, it's bad.
Yep.
And the thing is, we allowed it all to happen.
That ain't no joke. Shane, do you have anything that you want to add? And how do you gentlemen feel about me dropping the link and taking a couple of callers?
Oh, you go right ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. And the only thing I'd add is, when you was talking about Schiff writing that book, I can't remember his name either. I remember watching him on TV several times back when he first wrote it. But the other one, I bought his books, was he goes by Dr. Reality, or Dave Champion is his name. He's out of Arizona, and he's a retired Navy SEAL. He went into law enforcement. Right now, he's running for sheriff, if I'm not mistaken, in Rye County. And he used to teach tax code to all corporate businesses. And he knows it well, and he debunks everything the taxes have been doing to us over the years. And he's the one that taught me that there's only 3 taxes was applied when it was all written, and one of them ain't even used. It was called property tax, but it only had to do with your property if you own slaves. So that one's a boss. The other one's a direct tax. We all know what that is. The other one's an implied tax. And implied tax means it has to be a pleasure, something you want to do, you know? Well, no, everything they stick under it is implied tax, like property tax is an implied tax.
Well, bicycle repairman said it pretty good. It's becoming a singularity. And that's what it is. It's becoming a singularity, and we all have to elevate into a higher plane. And how are you going to do that? You're going to have wisdom. You're going to have knowledge. You're going to have to be, you know, you're going to have to know yourself and all this stuff too. And then once you have that confidence, then you're able to kind of move up to that next level. I mean, we're all operating in this low level stuff, all this division, all this hate, and all this negativity and everything. And it's done on purpose to keep you in that low energy vibration. You know, it's kind of like,
keep us divided.
well, that, you know, look at it like cymatics, you know, and then how they were able to freeze water crystals. And if you shout at water crystals and flash freeze them, the crystals are ugly and deformed. When you're like singing to it or praising the water and flash freeze it, they're beautiful. I mean, they're the you can't imagine how intricate and magnificent they look, you know. And so these are things that we as people have to elevate up to, and it's a collective consciousness. And once people can kind of elevate out of this negative vibration and this lack of knowledge and knowing what is going on and knowing the truth and being able to tell people the truth, and people are wanting to hear it and accept it, that's how we're going to have to elevate some of this stuff up. And like I say, there's certain people that just don't want it. They don't want to elevate to that.
They'll never accept it. We got our first caller in the waiting room. Scott, let me bring him in. This is Free Rebel.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead, brother.
Awesome. First caller. Woo-hoo. I feel honored. Anyway, listen to what you guys are saying. Let me throw this at Scott. I really like hearing what Scott has to say. If you take all the texts that's ever been written, regardless of who wrote them and whatever beliefs behind them, that talk about ancient civilizations, the rise and fall of ancient civilizations, they always had two things in common. They all had a tyrannical government and rampant sexual immorality. Okay? 98% of the time, that's true. Now, if you look at why Planned Parenthood was put in place, what's the ultimate goal of Planned Parenthood? Government or tyrannical government's telling people it's okay for you to go out and have sex and do whatever you want. We got you covered. There's no responsibility behind what you're doing. If you get caught, just go get it sucked out.
Well, number one, we're all animals and everybody is sexual. So take the sexual aspect out, because if we didn't procreate, there wouldn't be no more of us. So everybody is sexual too. Now, are there some really sick people out there? Well, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be these one-offs and all that thing, but take the word government itself. I mean, that's where you should really focus on. The word government, you take the first half, govern. What's a governor do? Controls. Mints. That is a short form of the word mind. So you're actually talking about mind control. Now, once you start controlling people's minds, now you're at a whole new level of some of this stuff. And so, like I say, some of the things that we hear about, with all this, different types of really sick stuff. Well, yeah, that's naturally not acceptable. But when you're controlling people's minds, you've crossed into a whole different realm now. Now you're able to control the narrative, control people's thinking, control their thoughts, control what they can and can't do. When we're all a free people, We're all came from God. We all have basically a moral compass to go by. And so these are just things that, because a lot of people want to dive off into a lot of the really weird, sick stuff. And, yeah, there's some really weird, sick stuff out there. You can't deny it because they've been doing it for thousands of years. How are they been able to do it for thousands of years? With government, with mind control, making people think that it's acceptable. It's an acceptable practice because they're being brainwashed. So these are things that you have to really dive off into, some of the real things that are really the root of the problem. Go to the root of the problem on some of this, and a lot of it, the rest of the plant will, fix itself. But you got to figure out where the root of the problem is on a lot of this stuff. So that's all I can add to that.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. The mind control. I mean, look what they've done to basic media in general in the last 12 years.
Well, that goes back to Mockingbird. They haven't
Yeah.
been doing this for 12 years. They've been doing this ever since TV was invented.
Oh yeah, I agree with you there. But for those of us that know better and have paid attention, I mean, what they've done in the past 12, 15 years to media, especially with TV, it's mind blowing that we don't have more people that believe like, when I say us, us, our general beliefs in general. Now, I'm not saying y'all have to have matching beliefs, but we're here for a common belief. And in that common belief, I'm surprised there's not more. That just tells you how much they've chipped down on our basic beliefs before they just laid it out on us.
Well, even the word belief, I even have a problem with that word. Break it down. It has lie in the middle. Be lie me, basically. Why does it got lie in the middle of a word? And, people use it readily all the time. I always say, I think I know this is true. I don't believe, because believe is subjective. And back to TVs. Back when they created TVs, I forgot the scientist's name now, but they had carrier waves. And they've been playing with carrier waves that are transmitted in those TVs for decades and decades. I mean, we only used to have 3 channels way back in the day. What were they able to put in there? How could they play with these stuff? How did they automatically knew back in the 50s they could put carrier waves? They do it in sonar on submarines. They know all about this stuff. So they've been, everything that the military has is effectively 20 to 35 years ahead of anything that we see today. So they know a whole lot that they're not telling us. But
Oh yeah.
That's
there's
the damn.
definitely
That's the damn truth. They know a lot more than definitely what they share with us. But thanks for the call there, Free Rebel. I got to get to the next caller.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Here's Johnny. How you doing this evening, brother?
Well, I'm doing great, brother, because it sounds like I got a brother from another mother there with old Scott. Because I've been down these old rabbit holes for a long time. I guess my first pushback and resistance was with the Internal Revenue Service, and it went to the point to where I had marshals come and seize and take everything from me, standing on my constitutional rights, and understanding that what they were doing was all a farce, and it didn't serve the system well, because they marched my butt into a tax court, and certainly I was found guilty there. And then they told me 30 days later they were going to take me into a district court and put me in prison. And I was with the Louisiana Coalition for Taxation. And a couple of those guys went ahead and did the deed. They went ahead and took their 2 years and did the jail time behind it. And I had a family and children, so I said, well, no, I'm not going to do that. what do I need to do to stay out of the district court? And they gave me 30 days to go ahead and file, because I just totally quit filing. I told them, I don't need to file. You don't have any any right to my money. But I learned a lot, and then that was what I told the tax collector at the time when I went in and I went ahead and filed and hired a tax attorney. And I filed, and I told him, you may not think 2 years means anything, but it's 2 years where I'll be able to educate people just how criminal you some bitches are.
Pick your battles carefully.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, well, and you know what? I lacked education, Scott, and that was the thing. So then I became educated, and I still battle with those people, but it's a battle that I haven't seen them knock on my door ever again. So that's all I'll say about that, because I don't want to go into it. There's no need to publicize what you know and what you don't know. There's a lot of, in the future, when we restore this republic, there's a lot I'd really like to share with folks. But until then, and when you were talking earlier, and then the conversation went to people and losing people, and some people that are never going to wake up and never going to see. Since I woke my wife and red pilled my wife after the November 3rd incident, she's gone down the rabbit hole with me. She's a great researcher. She's willing to spend hours and hours studying and reading. And when we share the information with family and friends, now we have no family and no friends. I mean, we still have them, but we don't get invited to dinner parties, because necessarily once you have this knowledge, you just can't let it go. If you've been enlightened by God, and I've shared that with all the Liberty Warrior Nation, when you're enlightened by God, it's not a switch that you can just turn off and say, well, because if someone asks me what I think on anything, I'm going to share with them what I do know to be truth. And then I always open the floor for any debate or any discussion. And then if it's a talking point, I'm very dismissive of talking points. I don't want to hear them, and I ultimately will slam the door on people pretty harshly. And, so we don't get invites. And it doesn't bother either one of us, because we stay in the foundation that this is our freedom granted by God and not government. And when the young man was talking about eugenics, he really needs to go back and understand Margaret Sanger. That was all about eliminating a race, and she was very vocal about it. There's lots of written quotes from her about the elimination of the black race, and then Adolf Hitler adopted it, and Henry Ford helped fund his movement, and that was to annihilate the Jewish people. So it was evil.
Well, it even goes back even more. They had to create Trading with the Enemies Act because Prescott Bush was funding Hitler. And so he was a guy in our own government. The government had to create its own act to censor him from doing that. And then whatever happened, how many people even know about that, It gets back to understanding your history, and then knowing that is that knowledge. And that's just what programs like this do, is just impart knowledge on the people to let them know that you can make a difference. It's gonna take some sacrifice, and just like you losing some friends and family, I can count all my friends on one finger. And I don't mind.
No, that's the thing, and that's what I've and oddly enough, Jackie's more comfortable with it than I am, because she goes, if they don't want to know and they don't want to listen, well, let's go to the next person, and you move on, and that's like, this is a good home base for me, Mike and Shane and everybody. This Warrior Nation is made up of good, godly people. We stay focused and intent on God and digging and finding the truth and then serving notice. Today I confronted my priest, and it was just him, I, and Jackie in the parking lot. And he is actually I guess, a vicar for the bishop here locally. He's the attorney, the mouthpiece for the bishop. So he's very aware of and knowledgeable about legal documents. So I said, "Hey, Father, I'm going to come by in about an hour. I want to drop off this criminal dossier on Dr. Death. I want you to look that over, and then I'm going to want you to check out this list of people that I've served notice of demand to and see what you think. Do you think maybe I need to serve that to the bishop?" And it took him all of about maybe a minute to change the subject and walk away.
Well, like I say, you're just planting seeds, and
That's it.
all you can do with some of these people. And you can't expect them to accept it. You can only drop the information, and then it's like that old argument: never argue with an idiot, because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience.
That's a good piece of wisdom there.
don't take it to heart, and don't get mad about it. Just say your little piece and move on. Go about your life. You got stuff to do. Go to the grocery store, whatever.
Yeah.
Run around in your backyard. I don't know what you do, but whatever it is, don't sit there and dwell on it, because that's just going to get you into that negative vibration stuff. And so,
well, I stay focused on kicking the dust off my sandals quite a bit.
Well, that's kind of what you got to do. Just keep on moving down the road, and pick your battles carefully, and know that there's a time to hold them and fold them. And at that point, your liberty is your main thing. You got to keep vigilant about. And once you stay focused on that, it's live to fight another day. You ain't doing nobody's any good if you're parked in jail. And I certainly wouldn't advocate nobody to do anything like that. That's just dumb. So think of it like that, and just stay positive and move on down the road. And if you alienate some people, well, it's probably a good thing, because all they're going to do is sit around, just be yapping in your ear all this negativity and all that crap all the time. You don't want to hear that anyway. So like I say, I ain't worried about it.
Amen. Gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and kick out of here a few minutes early tonight, so I can do some prayers, and I'm gonna do them before we end. Well, I'm gonna end this conversation a few minutes early tonight. So that being said, I'll go to Shane first, and then John, and then Scott for final thoughts. And stick around, folks. I'm gonna pray for the prayer request that came up earlier in the show as soon as we're done with final thoughts here. So Shane, your final thought.
My final thought: it's been another great evening. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you, chat, for all your kind words earlier and all your embarrassment. I appreciate that, Mike and chat. So anyway, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. So that's my final thought.
Nice. John, your final thought?
Well, another great night of intelligence. We're always everybody's wanting intel. Well, boy, I'll tell you what, Scott brings it with a sledgehammer with his 2x4.
Yeah,
that's
like
a new
that.
one. I like that. And it's great. I'm just really blessed to be in this and to share it with men that are spreading the truth, sharing the truth, and seeking the truth. And God wins.
Amen. John, I'll reach out to you tomorrow, and we can discuss our next episode on Podbean. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to that. I'll give you a call tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you much.
Yep. Scott, your final thought, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Well, thank you for having me back. Like I say, I didn't want to just kind of run off and speak the same old stuff it seems like I always talk about. I want to kind of get off into some different things. And I want to let some people know from some of the other people that I do talk to that this will come to an end. And I pretty well have been guaranteed that coming from some pretty solid sources that this will come to an end. And we're not going to know what's going on probably a bunch of this stuff. We're never going to find out. You're never going to get the physical proof, the lining up, the seeing public this, public that. I've been told you're not going to see it because it's going on behind the scenes. But it is happening, and there are things happening. And when you see some of these people that are gone, that are retiring, and some of these other things, there is a definite reason why it is happening. Will there be some people that won't make it on the other side? Yeah, I've been told that too. So, and these are some of the things I'm probably going to talk about on my Friday show. It's going to be pretty deep on that one. But I just want people to know that there is an insight and there is things really going on behind the scenes, and this is going to come to an end. Nobody knows when, and nobody has a timeline on anything. Anybody that tells you there's a definitive timeline on anything, watch out. And there's a lot of disinformation people out there, people that you think that are telling you everything, that they're these truthers and all. There's some controlled opposition. I've been assured of that. That's no joke. And so that's why I tell people you don't have to believe anything. Well, there's that damn word. You don't have to think of anything I'm saying is true. Do your own research. And once you find out that some of these things are lining up, there's a reason behind that. But you're not going to know I'm not going to know everything. In fact, probably some of it I don't want to know. All right. So think of it like that, but just you're going to have to stay focused and stay positive. And other than that, I guess I'll just end it like I normally do. Stay frosty. Donald Trump is a fucking genius.
All right, thank you so much, Scott, for joining us, brother. And like I said, I'll have Denise reach out to you. I'd love to get you booked for podcasts so that so you can just drop the hammer, brother.
Okay, well, it's a done deal. So
and everybody's asking real quick. Everybody's asking what time on Friday. We've dropped the link several times in chat. I know a few people have subscribed to you, Scott. What time Friday is your show going to be?
Oh, I just record it whenever I feel good and pissed off, and then I'll just post it. Every show's pre-recorded. I don't do anything live stream or nothing like that. So it's all recorded. I'll just upload it, and when it comes out, it's out. So
okay,
I can't say definitively because it just depends on how soon I get mad enough.
I want to add to that, guys, if you go in there and you watch the show and you jump down in there in the comments and you put emojis, you will be booted out and you'll never get back in. I promise. I've heard it.
Yeah, no emojis. I do not do emojis. Are really tracking devices, and I've said this 100 times. If I've said it once, they can use those things as tracking devices. So all y'all people going out there just blowing up with these dumb emojis everywhere you go, just know they can be used as a tracking device. So don't do it. That's all I got to say.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott, as always. Thank you for joining us. And I will be in touch. Have a great evening. And I'm going to close out with prayer with all of our friends here that need some prayer tonight. So I appreciate that. You're welcome to stick around if you want, but I understand if you need to bounce. Don't forget, today is Tuesday, folks, and Miles Franklin, they have their specials on Tuesday. If you guys are interested in your silver purchases, go to info@milesfranklin.com and check us out, libertywarriornation.com. You guys can sign up for our email notifications there, be part of that package so that if we do get taken down or we got something going on, you guys get an email notification from us, and that's at libertywarriornation.com. We also have our store link there, and our prayer request is in the More button, and you can send us in a prayer request, and we'll take care of that. So, gentlemen, thank you for a great evening, and I'm going to go ahead and pray us out and get out of here. This one's kind of an important prayer tonight. I know that Michael Gale is, I think he's hurt physically tonight. I was reading some stuff in chat about how he helped a lady out of a fire or something. So I'll be praying for Michael, and I'm going to pray for Doug Kuzma. I don't need to hear any BS about it. The gentleman needs prayer, and I'm going to pray for him. And, of course, our brother Cage is also hurting tonight. So I'm just going to go ahead and let you guys know those are the prayer requests that I have right now that I'll pray for, and then we'll get out of here. Dear Heavenly Father, as I come to you this evening, Lord, with all of our brothers and sisters out there here in the great country of the United States of America and across the world, Lord, everybody needs your help. It is that time of year where people are struggling, and with all of the mandates and restrictions that they thrust upon us, Lord, we need you more than ever. And so tonight, I pray for our brother Rage in the Cage. I pray for his financial situation, Lord, that you send him a remedy, send him a solution to his problems, and help him meet his needs in his time of need, Lord. I also pray for Doug Kuzma tonight, Lord. I understand that we don't see eye to eye, but he is still one of your children, Lord. And I know he's struggling right now in the hospital. I hear he's having a hard time breathing. And Lord, I just pray your healing hands on him tonight as he's there and possibly in the hospital alone, that you are there to comfort him, Lord. I also pray for our brother Michael Gale. Lord, he has served you faithfully. He has served this country faithfully for the Army, Lord. He has given all, and even in other people's time of need, he has once again stepped up and offered his hand and helped somebody in a time of their need, and possibly has been physically hurt from this, Lord. And I just, again, pray your healing hand over Michael Gale, that you will heal him and get him back to 100%. Lord, I also pray for each and every person in the sound of my voice tonight, listening, watching, listening and watching later in the coming hours, Lord. I pray a hedge of protection around each and every one of them, that you keep them safe. Lord, I also ask that you provide for them this time here in America and across the world, when we all need that extra hand from you, Lord, whether it's financial, whether it's with our relationships, whether it's with our Christmas, whatever it may be, Lord. I just pray that you bless each and every person and touch them in only the way that you can. Lord, I pray this in your son's precious name, Jesus. Amen and amen. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, folks. And you about ready for this, Shane? We'll go ahead and drop the hammer. All right. We'll be back tomorrow evening. I'm going to make it short tonight. We'll be back tomorrow evening, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain Time.
Eastern, 5 Eastern. Pacific.
Wow, you messed that one up. You messed that one up big time.
If y'all start watching at 5, you can't miss it. Just start at 5 and be there sometime.
All right. Love y'all. Have
somewhere.
a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.
God bless.
Hoping for a sincere performance, but open to finding the moment, to finding out where I'm headed now. Looking for a sign of disaster, so I can make it there faster. I'm weighing the consequences out. I can see in all directions. It how you can blend in with the crowd. I'm so scared, so damn afraid to look. I'm so sick of talking. I'm wearing the words out, words out. I can see in all directions. It's all open to interpretation, but I see colors that are breaking from the other side, the other side. When I make mountains out of summer trails, when I buckle under all the details, I'll keep going till I make it to the other side, the other side. When it feels like everyone's out to get me, I see the river on the back of my